Welcome into the FutureSox podcast. My name is Elijah Evans, and I am here with another special edition prospect interview. I've got Michael Turner here today. Michael's coming off a big season in his first professional year, primarily with Winston-Salem. And we're just here to talk a little about his career and everything else going on in his life. How you doing, Michael? Good to have you.
Good, man. Appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, thank you. So how's everything wrapping up? Looking at this, this past season, this was your first full professional season with the White Sox. How did everything kind of go for you this year? You had a really, really impressive season by the numbers. Everything that we saw from you was really great this season. So how did you feel this season, and how is everything going right now?
I thought it was pretty good. Obviously, it was my first full season and transit. I shouldn't say transitioning, but catching. It was kind of my first year of getting that many games under my belt. Up until college, I was actually a shortstop and pitcher. I committed to my first college as a catcher closer, and at the time, I'd never caught before. So it was my first full catching season. Not a lot of people know that, but in my first 3 years of college, I played a lot of third and first, so I'm pretty comfortable there still. But yeah, like I said, just kind of getting my feet wet and getting that first full season under my belt felt good.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm gonna pivot a little bit from where I was going because that's pretty incredible. For people that don't know, I mean, that's not something that's easy. I know there's players like
Mhm.
Kenley Jansen's a good example of a professional guy who
Yeah.
came in as a catcher and then transitioned to being a closer eventually. But there's
hmm
so many different players that switch around. But it's a lot of. Can you talk a little bit about just trying to learn how to catch in the last few years and really just what that development's like, and then how with the White Sox you've been working on that defense because that is not an obviously it's the hardest position to learn
Yeah.
defensively by far.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I caught, let's see, my senior year at Kent State, I caught probably 50% of the games. Um, but yeah, when I transferred to Arkansas, they wanted me to be the full-time catcher. But even going through a full season there is not really your typical full season of pro ball. It's a lot less games. So yeah, I mean, the transition's been pretty good, I think. Guys at Arkansas helped me a lot, and I'm super grateful to them. I'm actually training there in the off season again, so excited to get back. But yeah, definitely learned a lot talking to Julio and Q, and they're definitely helping me get more comfortable with that position.
Yeah. We'll get back into the baseball stuff. Let's go back a little bit to college. How was your experience? You played at two different schools, right? And obviously catching was a big difference, but how was kind of the transition from playing at multiple schools and just what you learned in college that's helped you be prepared for, being a pro this season and doing really well in your first year?
It was good. I spent 4 years at Kent. Still have some of my best friends of my entire life from there. I'm still really close with them. But transferring to Arkansas was seriously a dream come true, man. They do it right there. For every sport, they treat the athletes right, and I have zero complaints about that place. And my first off season last year, I got back. There was like 14 pro guys that go back to train. I mean, the new facility they have a locker room for pro guys to come back. So they just do it right there. And yeah, like I said, I'm excited to get back and get around those guys again.
Yeah, and how was the competition level at Arkansas kind of prepared you for minor league baseball? Because I've talked to a lot of guys who, like playing in the SEC, the Pac-12,
hmm
whatever it might be, is like transitioning to minor league baseball doesn't feel as daunting when you've played at that level of competition.
Yeah, no doubt. When I got in the portal and talked to Coach Van Horn, he said SEC, like when we start SEC series, it's really comparable to Double A. And I kind of
Yeah.
not having experience in the SEC, I was like, I thought he was a little bit crazy at the time, but once I got into it and got in full swing of things, I was like, he's exactly right. And after my first full season, I mean, there's studs in low, and I am not saying that, but it's just every guy that they bring out of the pen in the SEC is very comparable to professional baseball. So
Yeah.
that experience definitely helped me a lot. I can't imagine going from. I mean, if I didn't have the experience of the SEC, it would have been a lot different, I think.
That makes perfect sense, honestly. Going back
hmm
even further, what were some of the early steps in your life? Just this is something that fans love to know, and it's just cool to hear people's stories. Was there
hmm
any moments throughout your childhood where you really figured out that baseball was just like it was your thing?
Um, Yeah, I mean, I played three sports growing up. People think I'm crazy, but my one of my favorite sports until high school was soccer. So I'm kind of a bigger guy, so nobody really believes
Yeah.
me when I say that. But yeah, I think I seriously believe that soccer helped me become a catcher because all the footwork is just like a quick feet thing. But yeah, I loved soccer, basketball, baseball, and I mean, I played travel ball since I was 10, and always just I don't know. It's enjoyable, and I love the competition, and I honestly love the failure part of it. Like I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I want to be as good as I can in every at bat. So it's kind of it drives me to just get better each season. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. It's a cool thing to kind of have that, that background in other sports. I think it's there's such a thing these days about, playing a sport and sticking with one sport and putting all your effort into it. But having a background in other sports, like you said, it can
Hmm.
help, that soccer background can make a difference in your
Yeah.
baseball career long term. Flipping to a little bit more of, we talked a little bit about your defense, a little bit more on the offensive side. I don't know if you know this. This is a cool stat I dug up. You were the only player in the South Atlantic League with at least 50 walks that had more walks than strikeouts this season. So one of the things we've talked about in our podcast before is your plate approach this year was just excellent. And then throughout the season, it was something we were keeping an eye on.
Hmm.
How do you feel, what is your kind of your mindset in the box and the way that you approach at bats in order to have that really strong plate approach with a lot of walks?
I've always been like that. I think at Kent, my 4 years I had in my career, I had more walks and strikeouts. I prioritize that. I don't like striking out. I think on the downside of that, it costs me a little bit of power because I'm a little bit more selective than some guys at the plate, and that's one of my goals this offseason to get a little bit more aggressive because I think I have the tools to have some more power and I have the strength to do it. I think so too. So yeah, I mean, going back to what you said, I'm really patient. I don't like to chase. So I mean, the guys are good enough. So when you start swinging at balls, it makes it even harder on you. So my mindset is just make them come to me and look for a certain spot and don't miss it when they throw it.
Is there any specific pitches that you like, hitting better, like hitting worse, things you're working on kind of adjusting to being able to hit a little bit better?
For me, I've always used left field, left center a lot in my career. It's kind of funny. My dad played for professional baseball for 8 years, and he was honestly almost the opposite. Like he was a pull happy guy, a
Yeah.
lot of power, and didn't use the opposite field that much. And it was one of his weaknesses. So when I was growing up, that was kind of his focus to make sure that I was good at using the opposite field. So I mean, I've put a lot of focus in that. I don't want to call it a weakness, but I guess if I had to pick a spot that I didn't like, I guess I would say it would be the inner half, which, like I said, is
Yeah.
going to be a focus this offseason, try to get those power numbers up. But yeah, I've always used the opposite field well, and I think that helps with the strike out to walk thing as well. Seeing the ball deep in the zone is just something I've trained a lot and I've became pretty good at.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's really interesting you say that about your dad because I knew your dad played, but it's a lot of guys you see come up that had lineage in baseball have a lot of like very similar types of swings and approaches, and
Hmm.
that's fascinating. That's you have kind of he took you the opposite direction almost to do things that he
Yeah.
couldn't do better. What
Hmm.
was that like growing up, with somebody who had that lineage in baseball?
Oh man, I can't. He's taught me almost everything I know about the game. I'm from a really small town. I graduated with 120 people in high school. Nobody from around here really plays professional baseball. So growing up with him, it was just a huge advantage to me learning all the things that he knew. It was just the little details of the game. If you're not around the professional side of baseball, you don't really understand how much there is to the game. And I feel like I had that advantage from 10 years old to now that he has a great baseball mind. So I love picking his mind, especially after games. Like him and my mom watched every game this year, and I would call him or text him after every game and be like, "What'd you see?" Like, just kind of break it down for me. Even if it was a good game or most of the time it was a bad game, I would really ask him like, "What I do
Yeah.
wrong? What'd you see?" and go from there. But yeah, he's been a huge help.
Yeah, having that type of support system can make a huge difference just in the way you
Hmm.
develop and have throughout your career. Looking a little bit off the field even further, is there anything, outside of baseball? What are some things that you are passionate about, you like to do, hanging out with, whether it's with family, friends, whatever it might be?
Yeah, I like to hunt and fish a lot. I've been home for 3 weeks and I've deer season open. Let's see, last Sunday, so I've been out there a few times. Dad actually got a nice buck, so it's been cool to be home. But I don't get to spend that much time at home, so it's good to be around my family again and just catch up with everybody. I mean, they come and watch me obviously a couple times a year, but I mean, I was in Winston-Salem this year, so that's an 8 hour drive, so they don't get to
Right.
come that much. But yeah, like I said, good to be home, good to see everybody, good to catch up, and get sent out to Arizona soon. So got to say goodbye.
Yeah, that's awesome. Looking towards that future, like you're mentioning, what does your kind of off season look like? What is your plan? I know you're heading out to Arizona soon, obviously, to work on camps out there. What does the rest of the winter look like for you? And is there any, specific areas in addition? You've already kind of touched on most of it, but is there anything else that you're
Mhm.
really trying to refine and work on, in addition to the power of the defense, like we talked about?
Yeah, I'll be in Arizona the 8th to 28th, 26th, something like that. I'm going to come home for probably 2 weeks just to kind of visit with everybody one more time and then off to Arkansas. I've been in contact with a lot of of guys are in the big leagues. A lot of guys that just got drafted last year. I'm friends with those guys, even though I wasn't on the team. But yeah, I'm excited to get back there, man. There probably will be professional guys there training every day, so good to be around them. But getting back to what I'm working on, there's a few things catching wise. Certain like my setup specifically, just getting more comfortable doing several different things rather than just having one for most of the game. Receiving, I'm always working on. My throws, I think my throws and arms was pretty good this year. I think I can be a
Yeah.
little bit more accurate. Um, but from the hitting side, I somebody when I was going through Kent, somebody told me work on your strengths 60% of the time and your weaknesses 40% of the time. And I've kind of gone by that a lot. But I think this off season I'm going to flip it, try something different. I'm going to try to really focus on my weaknesses, like I was talking about the inner half, trying to produce more power, but still not losing the opposite field and having that good approach. So
Right.
yeah, I'm excited to get back there.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Kind of finding out how to well round that game even further.
Hmm.
We'll finish up on this. We're really excited about the future of the White Sox right now. This farm system,
Hmm.
took a lot of steps forward, especially at some of the lower levels this year. How is it? We've been looking through, the 2022 draft class, your year last year, and there's guys like throughout the entire draft class that are performing right now and had big
Hmm.
seasons this year. And it's like you don't always look at a draft class, and despite all of you are working incredibly hard to make it happen, but you're not always expecting to see numbers immediately from every single throughout the rounds of the draft. How do you feel about the
Hmm.
draft class that you're coming in with and just all the different guys you've been kind of training with the last year?
I love it. A few guys in the SEC, like I'm good buddies with Tim Oko, so I love seeing him have that success. I knew he was going to do that. I mean, I watched it all year last year, and he's an uncomfortable game to call against. So I'm excited for him. And there's a lot of guys that are doing really well in our draft class. And a lot of them started in Kannapolis, but when they got called up and I got to catch them, it was super exciting to see them do well because I feel like everybody in the draft class had a pretty good year. So it's fun to watch and be a part of for sure.
Well, we're super excited to see the continued development of your class and everything else going on with the White Sox farm system. We're feeling really good about it. And we appreciate you coming on and talking to us and giving everybody a chance to get to know you.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.